Okay, we are live, live. Hello, friends. Hello, everybody who is listening now and who is going to listen in the future. We are here at SunGates Center. My name is Rita Borg. And here at SunGates, we are always about best for our listeners, for people who are coming here, for our clients, for our practitioners, and we share information. And today I'd like to share that a couple days ago, our good friends Sharon and Steve are step in, and we have a great conversation. And Steve had this great idea about a movement that we would like to start here to bring more people, to bring those who would like to be happy, healthy, and share a high level of consciousness. So I'd like to introduce officially our friends today, Sharon and Steve Berkowitz. And please, thank you. Glad, super good to have you. And we'll talk more about what we're gonna do, our future plans. And Steve will talk more about his exposure to different practices.
So first of all, thank you, Rita, and thank you to SunGates Center for having us here. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be here and to share great information with our listeners and anyone tuning in. Also, Stephen, my husband Stephen, and just welcome. He is actually called Sri Dharananda, aka Swami Steve, and he will be presenting information to you, his interpretation of things and anything that can help our listeners to be on their life's wonderful journey. So welcome, Swami Steve.
Thank you. Sharon, thank you, Rita. It's really exciting. I'm really honored. It's really a privilege to be here at SunGates. It's very exciting. It's exciting here to be with all of you. And
can you share a bit of your ideas? How do you see the movement that can bring people together and help to raise the vibrations and be together for peace, for love on the earth?
Okay, well, this is a great time because it's not just SunGates.
Right.
It's the entire world. The entire world is ascending to a new level. We've gone from a third dimensional to the fourth dimensional. We're now in the fifth dimensional, and with the sacred violet flame from Saint Germain and Omoya and other things. And so the energy is rising and the veils are lifting. But in simple terminology, what was done a century ago, where the student would be at the master's feet and would take a lifetime, now it can happen in a week, in a year, in a week, in a day, and in an instant. So things are moving at a much, much faster pace than ever before in the history. And so really, thoughts are becoming into reality and things are manifesting quicker and quicker. So it's important that the thoughts you have, you're more mindful and you think about it. But the movement. So SunGates is one of hundreds or thousands of different places. And what it is, as Rita was saying, that our goal is just as simple to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Happy, healthy, wise, productive. The thing is, it's about movements, individual movements, about women becoming empowered, getting together as groups so they can talk and discuss things that have been hidden for centuries. It's about everyone coming together. And here at SunGates' whole goal is to help you help yourself in a simple, practical way that you can access it. I mean, the courses they have, the people they have is unbelievable, whether it's astrology, numerology, whether it's diet, it doesn't matter what the goal is. I mean, they've got everything. And if somebody were to call up and ask for something specifically, SunGates would do it, whether it's healing, whether it's practitioners, whether it's Reiki, Corona Reiki, Ho'oponopono. That's what the goal of SunGates is, and that's what the whole world is. It's all coming together under one common goal, and that's to go beyond the ego and beyond the mind, beyond duality, into singularity, into be awakened, into God realization. So that's really the purpose of SunGates. And it's very exciting that all of the people here can be a part of the solution and a part of the ascension. So it's important that we get your feedback into what you want to do and how you want to do it. And we're going to present everything on every topic there is, but it's all about one thing. It's all about being productive, being happy, being successful, and whatever you see is in the highest way. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well said.
It's very, very exciting.
Yeah,
I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Great. Today you were going to talk to Steve about ego, his insights about ego and how he can see from the teaching he got from his teacher. So go ahead and ask Steve questions.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Rita. So to begin with, we're going to be talking on a series of topics, and today's topic is the ego. And so Swami Steve, can you tell us what is the ego?
Okay. Well, the ego is nothing that's tangible, nothing that's real. Matter of fact, the ego isn't really just an illusion. But because we live in an illusionary world, it's real to us because we believe it. As long as we believe it to be true, and so it is. So, but basically, I'll just give you a definition of what the ego is. The purpose of the ego is to hold the illusion of duality in place through the erroneous belief in right and wrong. Your ego is your consciousness in duality. Your ego is akin to the software program of a computer system, running various programs over and over and over again automatically to produce a desired reality that you created. The ego is akin to the mind, which connects to the states of minds or feelings, thus experiencing itself through patterning. The ego is likened to the mind, which consists of states of mind, thus experiences itself through patterning. This patterning goes on over and over and over again. The ego symbolizes what the separation of self has identified itself with, like I am tall, I am short, I am smart, I am right, I am wrong. Now, the ego, there's two basic things. There's the ego and spirit, or people use higher consciousness, awareness, whatever words you want to do. And what happens is the mind, whatever you focus on, goes and expands. So if you're focusing on a topic, that's where your mind is going. So for most of us, our mind is focused on thoughts. And when thoughts have an expectation or an attachment, then what it does, especially at childhood, when one of our childhood needs gets unmet, it becomes imprinted in us forever until we dissolve it. And then there's beyond the mind or spirit or consciousness. And what that is that's accepting what is. So the point is, and see, the ego is resistance. So, another question that you were asking before is, how can you tell the difference between when you're in ego and when you're in spirit? Mm-hmm. I remember you've asked me that several times. And it's very subtle, but on some level it's simple. When something is easy, effortlessly, and 100%, it feels good. It's coming from beyond the mind, from spirit. If you have any resistance at all, like if you have a thought, and any kind of resistance, or it's not 100% in alignment for all people, then it's coming from your ego. And everything there is choices and consequences. So if you're coming from your ego, there's always going to be a consequence or karma.
So what you're saying, Swami Steve, is then when you're not coming from your heart, when you're being triggered, let's say, that something is really bothering you and it comes up in your life that you're moved with an emotion, you have an attachment to things, that you're not really in your higher self or coming from your heart, because then your things attach onto you, like your emotions going up, or something that is causing you some kind of pain and suffering, because you're going along with the ego, because the ego wants to be right. The ego wants to say, this is how you should be doing it. This is how I want you to do it. The ego causes you to have distractions. So what is it that we can do to either do we work with the ego? Do we just let the ego fall away? How do we remove that or dissolve it so that way it lessens the suffering?
Okay, you said a lot of things. Okay, first of all, the first thing I heard was about emotionality. There's two kinds of emotions, basically, and everything is a subset of that. There's conditional love and fear. And the thing is that both of those are ego-based. And the thing is there's a word that has no opposite. And this word is unconditional love. And it's the highest vibration there is. And when you're coming from unconditional love, then you're beyond the ego. Now, another thing, the ego has a defense mechanism. And because the ego has its basic job, and it's very, very clever, and it's very, very strong. And the thing is, and it's got a defense mechanism that always goes back, and it's the ego does not want to be destroyed, eliminated. And it'll fight with everything that it possibly has in order to keep and perpetuate itself over and over again. And it keeps us trapped into a loop. And so that's what the ego does. And then you were asking questions. What was the other things that you were asking?
How do we relieve the suffering, or
Okay.
what can we do about it?
Suffering. Suffering is from the mind. When you come, duality is from the mind, the lower mind. When I use the word mind, I'm talking about the lower mind. So whenever you have right and wrong, good and bad, you're living, rich or poor, happy or sad, you're living in a place of duality. Duality is a three-dimensional place that of the ego. And so the thing is and one swings from one. As a child, you may have not have your needs met. So in order to have your needs met, you go from one extreme about being, let's say, unworthy. Okay? And then what you do is you spend your entire life focusing on being worthy and successful. And really what it is, it's a cover-up. And in 1 second, someone can trigger you and you go right back down again. So the place is, it's not about being this or that. It's like, in Sanskrit, there's a word called neti, neti, neti. I am not this, I'm not that. Or I'm not my body. I am spirit, having a human experience. So that's it. And then you were asking me how to dissolve this. Was that what you're asking?
Right. Is there a process or something that somebody can do to assist themselves?
Yes, but before this, now suffering is of the mind. When you go beyond the mind, there is no suffering. It's like when Christ was on the cross, he was of the body, not in the body. So there is a place where there is no suffering. That's called awakening, enlightening, God consciousness. So that's the ultimate place. But then there's steps along the way. So how do we dissolve? First of all, realizing what the ego is, and realizing that the ego is not real, and not feeding the ego. So first of all, it's awareness. When you're in awareness of what the ego is, here, let's just do a short meditation.
Sure, let's do a meditation so that way we could relax and see what else comes up and how we can just be in stillness.
Okay, so the point is, this is your third eye right here. It's an Ajna chakra. It has many different names. Meditating on it, meditating on the word Om, will take you to an entirely different world. But okay, so let's start with closing your eyes. Okay, everyone close your eyes. It'll be a short meditation. Concentrate your focused attention on the third eye. Releasing the tension of your jaw. Release the tension of your neck. Release the tension of your shoulder, of your throat. Now breathe deeply into your divine heart center up here, and focus and release and relax, allowing the mind to be absorbed in the radiant heart divine light essence, shining forth from the center of being. Observe and focus. Observe and focus. Observe and focus. Notice and release. Observe and focus. Focus and release. Observe and focus. Okay, slowly open up your eyes. And I'll ask some questions for the audience, but I'll apply them to Sharon. What did you notice? Was your mind calm? Was it silent? Was it still?
So I found that I was relaxing into the words of what you were saying to me and relaxing into my body. And I was feeling a little bit of tightness in my throat and was feeling so a little bit distracted in that when that was happening. But overall, I was thinking I was feeling more relaxed.
Okay. Did you feel any resistance?
So yes, I guess that there was resistance because I was feeling the tightening in my throat.
See, resistance is the ego not accepting what is. See, when you can accept everything as it is, without being triggered, without an attachment or emotionality to it, that's a sign that you're going beyond the mind into a higher state. See, the last thing the ego wants to do is to remember stillness. See, the main thing that the ego does is distract you. It's very, very clever. And what it does is it allows you and makes you feel like you're going someplace, but really it's just a trap, and it keeps you in the ego because, again, remember, the ego does not want to die.
So what I'm understanding then is the ego is there to cause us a distraction of some sort, one way or another, to not let us
go beyond
the mind, to be
right.
relaxed. As you mentioned, to be awakened, that it's just the essence of presence, that you want to be in that state of, relaxation and letting things just move through you and not get stuck. So it's feeling that stuckness that the ego wants to persevere.
Yes. You see, the ego is the part of the self that perceives itself to be separate from source. It has been called the imaginary doer behind every action. The ego has been referred to as a storyteller who creates and tells stories and then traps these stories in the subconscious, unconscious storage system of the mind. Here, let me tell you a verse from the Mandaka Upanishads. Okay. The ego is like two birds perched on a tree. Okay. Both birds are intimate friends. The ego and the self dwell in the same body. One eats the sweet and sour fruit, while the latter looks on with detachment. And it's very analogous to how people are. During the meditation, did you notice that an attachment to anything?
So just having some thoughts, maybe, going to doing something a little bit later, or just thinking about something else. So I know that was taking me and seeing that I was separate, because the thoughts were distracting me from that meditation.
Right, and exactly. And when you can free yourself from emotionality and free yourself so there's no trigger points, then you go into a place of detachment. And then it's about doing, when you were doing it, did you focus on trying to be right? Doing it right?
Yes,
Okay.
that I was just following exactly what you were saying and wanted to stay present to it.
See, so if there's a right, there's a wrong. So it's about you being right or trying to be right in a situation in your life and someone else. But so when you're right, that automatically implies that someone else is wrong. And being beyond the mind, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just a place of acceptance saying, oh, I see this happening. And what you do is you do right action.
So you're releasing the idea of duality. You're going beyond the duality.
You're not actually releasing it.
Mhm.
It doesn't exist. You
Mhm.
see, if you release something, you say there's a this and a that. So it's just focusing on something. You see, you can't focus on fear and love, good
Right.
and bad. So what you do is you focus on right action.
So do I want to come from a place of observing that I could create some space between myself and doing it right?
Observing it, it's like being up above it. Another word you could use is an awareness. So the point is when you observe something, which is still a higher state of consciousness, there's observer and someone that has to observe something. So that's, even though it's a much, much higher level, it's still duality. And being not aware, but in a state of awareness. It's like not gratitude, but it's a state of being grateful at all times. So that's really a much, much higher place to be.
Right, because when we talk about perceiving something and then also just being the perceiver and know that what is being perceived could be the same thing.
Right, when they become the same thing, when they become one, that's it. But let's talk about we have to focus on the thing is to go beyond duality, to beyond expectation, to go to a place. See, it's never about, you never annihilate or get rid of the ego. But what you do is when you focus on something, that's what you focus on. So it's just like when you were a child or you learned something. Oh, wow, this is no longer true or valid. So the thought was still there, but it's no longer has any importance. So what you do is you go on and you do what's right and proper. So it's the same thing with the ego and spirit. As you realize that the ego is self-serving and keeping you in this place, and you realize that my whole life, all I want to do is focus on doing what I call the golden rule. And to me, what the golden rule is to be uplifting and supportive to all people. And that includes being uplifting and supporting to yourself. It's not about doing for others at the cost of yourself. It's about doing right action for yourself, for all people, and for the universe.
So how do you know when you're either listening to the ego or the I, the self, versus the higher self or spirit?
Okay, again, it's about how does it feel. The thing is, when you're coming from spirit, right? You can feel it in your divine consciousness right here. Okay, it's not a physical place.
It's in your heart center.
It's in your heart,
right here.
Right. And when it feels good, it's wow, this is great. You may say to yourself, something like going to the mall or doing something. Well, I kind of want to go here, but I know that this is good. And when you say I know, you have a feeling that this is what's right. And by the opposite saying, for a child, or saying, I really kind of want to be with my friends, and even though I don't necessarily like all of them, or I really know that I'm not doing my homework, or maybe I should be playing with my brother or doing chores. That's not the same thing, because on some level, it has to be good on all levels. So there's any thought, any resistance, any second guessing, it's not coming from your heart. And the thing, in a way too, let's get back into how to dissolve it. I mean, we could do an entire session on this. What you do is you take a thought of resistance and emotion. We call it a state of mind.
So what are states of mind?
States of mind are feelings or emotions. So we'll take one about being angry. Okay, that seems to be a prevalent thing around here. So what you do is you say, I'm angry. And what we do is we project it onto a person, place, or thing. Now, the anger is not what we do. Is we think we're angry at the person, we'll say, but really it's not about the person. It's about us. So
Because it's a reflection.
Yes,
You're sending it out. Actually, it's a reflection back to you.
On some level, there is no one else out there. It's only us. And on some level, what it is you're angry at yourself.
Mhm.
And because you're angry at yourself, and you don't want it, and you're hiding it from within because it's a childhood need that was never met, you're projecting it out onto to someone else. And the thing is, it's never sort of thing is, if we were to realize every person that we meet is an opportunity, we're looking at ourselves, a reflection of ourselves, and it's an opportunity for a healing. So if I was looking at the person and saying, I'm in anger, then what it is, it's not about them, it's about me. So then right off it takes away from the knee-jerk reaction. And then so what it is you take the feeling of anger and forget the situation, and then you bring it in and get to your heart center. You close your eyes. You feel this. Okay, do this. Feel yourself being angry. Hold it. Sit with it. It's not about the situation. Within a few seconds, certainly a minute, no, not much longer, you'll feel the anger starting to dissolve. Because you brought this thing that's not real into your heart center, everything dissolves. And you'll have a feeling like, oh, wow. And this will start breaking the patterning, the vicious cycle of the ego. Now, it may happen instantaneously that you realize that in transcend this or integrate this thing totally, but it's like spilling red wine on a white carpet. Sometimes you just do it over and over and over again until you get to it. And remember, any one of your emotions is never what you think it is. There's always something underneath that, and underneath that, and underneath that. And then eventually, when you go to a higher level, you find out it's all about, it all goes back to source. What you call God, the universe, whatever choice of words you realize. And then if you want to go back further than that, it's about separation. Because the thing is since we all are one, interconnected, interrelated, and there really is only one of us, and the rest of it's all about the story. So as we go into this oneness, it's about the separation, like I'm angry from being separated from God. And then as you take everything back to source, that's the answer to everything. And the answer to everything, always, under all circumstances, is always about love. So no matter what, and it's not, again, this, love or fear, conditional love. And most of us think that unconditional, so it's going back into your heart center. And as we go to this place, it'll dissolve and resolve everything until you integrate it and you become one with everything.
And what's fascinating about that is that when we went through that, I had felt that I took a deep breath and I felt like I felt more at peace and at oneness. So that was
super
wonderful.
Very exciting.
Swami Steve. So thank you so much for all your wonderful insights. Thank you for being here at SunGates Center, and we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you again. It's an honor and privilege. And if there's ever any questions for me, for Rita, for Sharon, for anything, please, because we're only responsive to you. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. It was very deep, very insightful, and very useful. And I'm sure our listeners can follow and practice it, because just information won't do anything. We need practice every day, every minute. If we meditate 24 hours a day, that would be wonderful. I just want to say thank you very much to all our listeners, and sign up for our YouTube channel, because we're going to have more of Steve and Sharon and other very famous, very inspiring speakers and practitioners that we're going to bring to you, those who will help you to grow, to grow with vibrations, grow with love, eliminate fear, and all the rest that is here on earth is not allowing us to move forward.
Right.
And our next topic is on compassionate listening.
Exactly. Yeah, just follow us on YouTube, on Facebook. There is a SunGates Center Facebook page, SunGates Center group. Join our group, and also some information on sungatecenter.com. Thank you very much, Sharon and Steve.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.